Welcome back to the Kempire Daily YouTube channel, where you get daily and consistent hot topics in music, entertainment, reality TV, and more. As always, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you never miss out on breaking news when we go live or when we upload. Erika Girardi is back in the news, and my head is spinning from the amount of legal things that she might be dealing with at this very moment. I can only imagine. If you watched the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills last night, then you already are starting to see how all of this ball is starting to roll and mount for Erika Girardi. Well, now a judge has ruled that the victims of Tom Girardi can now sue Erika Girardi. Let's get into the details, and as always, we'll be citing our sources in the description of this video. So according to People magazine, they've discovered in court documents that Tom's ex-clients Joseph Ruigomez, Jamie Ruigomez, and Kathleen Ruigomez will be able to collect $11 million that they are owed per a 2020 litigation. Previously, the courts had put a stay on Tom's assets and his law firm, Girardi Keese, to continue to be investigated by a bankruptcy trustee after filing for Chapter 7 bankruptcy late last year. And again, according to People magazine, weeks after the bankruptcy trustee's special litigation counsel reported that Girardi Keese, Tom Girardi's law firm, transferred $20 million to various businesses of Erika Girardi, aka Erika Jane. The Ruigomez family have been given the go-ahead to continue with their suit against Erika Girardi. This is what the document states. All assets identified by the Ruigomez family shall be subject to all rights of the Girardi bankruptcy estate and the Girardi Keese bankruptcy estate, which parties shall meet and confer in good faith to determine the character or ownership of the identified assets. The Ruigomez family, the Girardi trustee, and the GK trustee shall cooperate with each other with their collection efforts against Erika. So as you may recall, the Ruigomez family was featured in the Housewife and Hustler documentary that was done by ABC News and was streamed on Hulu. A lot of things came out of that, and I know a lot of people's opinions of Erika Girardi changed after watching this, because you got to see a face, a name, a story behind the victims of Thomas Girardi. But specifically, Joe Ruigomez, we got to see go to the doctor. We got to see what happened to him after this pipeline explosion where he lost the love of his life and continues to suffer from the injuries of that explosion. He even talks about how Tom Girardi came to his bedside at the hospital and promised to get him this money, and how the phone calls were even exposed in this documentary of how Tom would allegedly, gotta use that word, y'all, would lie about the status of his money and what he was going to do with that money. But here's the actual breakdown and timeline. So Joe Ruigomez's family hired Tom Girardi after he was critically injured in the San Bruno gas pipeline explosion back in 2010. 2010 this happened. And this is a quote: "We thought he could win the case for us." This was Jamie Ruigomez, Joe Ruigomez's sister. "We didn't know how much of a snake he would be along the way." After settling the lawsuit for the Ruigomez family back in 2013, Tom allegedly suggested that he put the multi-million-dollar settlement in one of his investments and dispensed the money monthly. But after the family stopped receiving payments from the settlement, they became suspicious about where the money was. Joe said that Tom became increasingly difficult to reach and failed to give straight answers when they asked about the money. Joe Ruigomez claims that back in 2017, the payments disappeared completely, prompting the family to file a lawsuit in order to obtain the remaining funds. Tom allegedly agreed to pay them $12 million last year, signing a document saying that he would make a $1 million initial payment, followed by a second payment of $2.5 million that they never received. So if you've been following this Erika Girardi situation, you know there have been multiple litigation cases. Even the divorce has been accused of being very strategic for them to allegedly embezzle money from these victims. And based on what we see for the preview for next week's episode of The Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, we're going to start hearing and seeing a reaction from Erika Girardi in regards to the victims and everything that's playing out in the news. And she gives us a very believable crying scene, but I'm not sure what I believe. But this particular ruling, it's not good for Erika Girardi. Back in June 23rd, the petitioning creditors in the bankruptcy case filed 3 separate motions that accuse Erika Girardi of refusing to turn over bank statements and other documents to the bankruptcy trustee, according to copies of motions obtained by People magazine. And about a week later, the court ruled in favor of the creditors, ordering Erika's accountant, her divorce lawyer, and her landlord to turn over key documents, which would include her pay stubs, her bank statements, and any emails and text messages pertaining to her finances. I don't know how Erika Girardi is going to get out of this legal mess, because as I said to you before, it's not just a divorce that she's going to be dealing with, because that's been put on hold. She's dealing with these multiple lawsuits. And I think that's just the beginning, because based on this new ruling, the judge has given the Ruy Gomez family a right to do a collections lawsuit against Erika Girardi and her companies. Because, we've been speculating, we've heard multiple news reports that Girardi Keese, the law firm, loaned Erika Girardi's Erika Jane EJ Global and multiple companies $20 million. But one of the things that I noticed in this week's episode is her pointing out the money that she made on her own. And I honestly believe that was strategic. She mentioned, her New York Times bestselling book. She mentioned her makeup collaborations, her shoe collaborations, her Broadway stint. All of what she's doing on the show, I believe it's definitely strategic. I think even her divorcing Tom has been strategic. Was it strategic in favor of him or in favor of everything that's going on? Not necessarily. I think maybe she was trying to save herself and get out of there. But that's been put on hold. She can't divorce Tom just yet. She is still technically going to be liable, and based on what we're seeing, she is going to be sued multiple times. We will be following this story. I want to know your thoughts in the comment section. What do you think of this new court development in regards to Erika Girardi? Do you think the Ruy Gomez family will actually get some of this money? They're owed $11 million. Insane to me. And if you have not watched The Housewife and The Hustler, you should definitely do it. It was an amazing documentary. They did a really good job, and it really shifts your opinion on what really went down with Erika Girardi, with Tom Girardi, and these poor victims. As always, we will be following this story. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you never miss out on breaking news when we go live or when we upload.